Now, I wouldn't really call myself a tough love coach per se, but I do really believe that there are some brutally honest fitness truths that you absolutely need to hear, that if you actually accept, will change how your body looks, performs, and feels in the long run. People that stay in shape year round and seem to do so relatively effortlessly are absolutely not spending huge portions of their time dieting. In fact, quite the opposite. And this kind of seems counterintuitive because you look at a relatively lean and strong body and think you must be counting every calorie, watching what you eat, making sure that you're not putting on any weight so that you can maintain that lean physique. But genuinely, 99% of them are going to be spending most of their time at maintenance. They're going to be focusing on getting enough fuel in order to train really hard. They don't see food as good or bad. They don't see their fitness journey as on or off track. They know that chronic dieting is a one-way ticket to being under-muscled, under-fueled, and metabolically sluggish. And they see dieting as short strategic phases along the way, rather than a complete lifestyle. Chasing skinny isn't just ineffective, it is literally risking your health. When your primary goal is to be as small and thin as possible, you're not just less likely to reach your body composition goals, you are literally increasing your risk of real, measurable, long-term health problems. Being underweight is associated with low bone mineral density, meaning your bones are literally weaker. One large study showed that underweight women were 3 times more likely to have low bone mineral density compared to women of normal weight, and over 11 times more likely to have lower skeletal muscle mass. With weak bones and low muscle, your risk of fracture increases exponentially. And you might think, well, I'm young, I can bounce back. But later in life, lower bone density increases your risk of osteoporosis. About 20 to 35% of women over 50 have it. That is a significant portion. And underweight women don't just risk brittle bones. If your body is constantly in a state of low energy availability, you will start to see that some of those vital physiological functions start to slow down. Your menstrual cycle can stop, otherwise known as hypothalamic amenorrhea. Your fertility can worsen. Again, in a state of severe restriction, your body will deprioritize reproduction. And when muscle mass is lost, we're not just looking at a weaker physique and a slower metabolism. We're also looking at a higher risk of sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle loss. They really are not just aesthetic consequences. We're genuinely looking at an increased risk of serious health issues. Strong over skinny took off for a reason. It's going to take longer than you want it to. This is when I literally want to scream from the rooftops. Whatever your body composition goal, whether that's literally just fat loss, whether that's building muscle, whatever you are looking at, I promise you, whatever you think in terms of timescale, you want to times that by 3 most of the time. Real meaningful body composition change that lasts long term takes far longer than you may expect. Not because you're necessarily doing it wrong, you could be ticking every single box that you need to be, but because you're trying to undo years, sometimes decades, of habits into an 8-week transformation. The maths just does not compute. Most people will subconsciously expect results to look a little bit like month 1, starting to feel a little bit different in my clothes, starting to see energy come up. All of that may happen, by the way. But then within a couple of months, you are done. You are at your absolute goal physique. That person you've been looking at on Instagram, you're basically going to look exactly like them. Well, firstly, no, you won't, because that's not how bodies work. You can't just become a carbon copy of somebody else by copying their workout plan. But because the process of building muscle and losing body fat, not just weight, is not a process that is done in a matter of weeks. Slow progress is the cost of sustainable change. If results came quickly and they lasted, everyone would have them. This one might ruffle some feathers, but I feel like it needs saying. Self-care is not treating yourself. Self-care is actually looking after yourself. I think we've kind of gone too far the other way with the messaging of listen to your body, take a rest day, do what you like, you've worked hard this week, you deserve it. There is absolutely a time and a place for self-compassion, but you actually need to have pretty high standards for yourself. I feel like self-care needs a bit of a rebrand. Skipping the gym because you're listening to your body multiple times a week. Dropping any and all structure the minute there's a bit of resistance. That honestly isn't self-care, in my opinion. Real self-care can also look like going to the gym when you fancy sitting on the sofa. Eating in line with your goals, even when motivation isn't sky high. and holding your minimum standards rather than just constantly lowering the bar. And I feel like if you know me, which I appreciate a lot of you don't, you'll know that I am not the sort of coach who is hustle harder, no excuses. Rest is incredibly important, but rest should be planned, intentional, purposeful, not just an excuse to completely disengage the minute something feels uncomfortable. And if you feel like you're someone who's been waiting for the right time for the last 2 years, you're never going to start. I know this has become a cliche, but maybe it's a cliche for a reason. There is no perfect time. Life is inherently imperfect. It is full of twists and turns and curveballs. And if you're anything like the women I work with, life is never a breeze. You are never completely free of stress. You're never in a position where you have a 3-week clear run of absolutely no social plans. Life doesn't calm down so that you can then start looking after your body, eating well, training hard. I actually think it's the other way around. When you get all of those 3 things in the right place, in a way that actually suits your life as is, it makes everything else easier. If you're doing it right, your movement, your nutrition, your sleep, all of those things actually add to your life. You have more energy. You have more time available. You are more productive. It sounds counterintuitive, but I promise you, it is the truth. I'll start when the kids are back in school. I just need to get over this big work deadline that I'm working on at the minute. If any of those sound familiar, I need to tell you, life never really stabilizes. You just get older. Another year passes without making any progress. In fact, in my experience, the reason most people are delaying starting something isn't because they don't care about their goals. I'm sure they really want to reach that point that they've been thinking about, whether that's leaner, stronger, fitter, healthier. But it's because initially you are going to feel uncomfortable. You might currently feel quite out of shape. You might feel a bit awkward in a gym setting. You might need to change up some of your routines in order to get some of these things in place. You might need to start saying no to things to make other aspects more of a priority. All of that is objectively uncomfortable. And it's hard to face that. But there will always be a little bit of resistance. There just is no version of you where that discomfort isn't the barrier to entry. The thing is, if you're waiting until things calm down to start working towards your fitness goals, it basically sets a precedent that you will quit every time it gets busy. Your fitness journey cannot only exist in ideal conditions. Here's the truth, whether you like it or not. There is no perfect time. It's going to take longer than you think. Self-care isn't always bubble baths and face masks. Being in shape is absolutely not about constantly dieting. And chasing skinny is going to cost you more than just your aesthetics. If you want real change, you probably are going to need some more aligned expectations, some stronger standards, and a longer term view to your health and fitness goals. I really hope this didn't come across as too harsh, but I'm always trying to be honest with you guys. I would love to hear what you think in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Love you. Bye.